Now part of the Darkcast Network. Welcome to Indie Podcasts with a Dark Side. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Love and Murder, the weekly true crime podcast discussing relationships gone terribly wrong, where our motto is, you're either someone's last love or their first murder. I am your host, Kai, and in today's episode, we're discussing the case of a YouTube vlogger who gave parenting advice. Only she didn't take her own advice. Before we begin, as usual, I want to thank my lambs in Patreon for all of their contributions. Because of you, Love and Murder is able to go on every single day. So thank you so much. Be sure to subscribe to Love and Murder right now while you're listening so you don't miss an episode. And if you didn't know, you can also subscribe to Love and Murder on our Patreon. Once you become a Lamb Patreon, you don't have to hear intros like this or commercials, and you'll be a sponsor of Love and Murder. And to top it off, you'll be getting our popular Kai Rants. Patreon.com/Love and Murder. And don't forget, I'm trying to get to 500 Lamb subs. I'm trying to get 500 names on my whiteboard that's right in front of my desk by the end of 2024. Do you want your name on there? Patreon.com/Love and Murder. Don't forget, during December, I'm off. I was going to say Kai's off, but that sounds kind of weird. So Sunday episodes are still Kai Rants. So this is kind of a preview of like the Kai Rants that you get on our Patreon. Patreon.com/Love and Murder. Go ahead and sign up. I won't bite. In the meantime, though, grab your butts, grab your apple juice, and let's get into some Love and Murder. In early 2015, Ruby Franke made a YouTube channel called 8 Passengers, where she documented her family life. She was a vlogger. She documented her family life with her husband and their 6 children. Her husband's name is Kevin, and they lived in Utah. Everything seemed nice and, it was going well for her. She actually had a large following with a channel of almost 2.5 million subscribers, and she had about 1 billion views. But then in 2020, stuff started coming out that sounded concerning. Ruby's son had come out and told basically the world that he had been banned from his bedroom and he had to sleep on a beanbag for the last 7 months. So then viewers started getting concerned, like what really is going on here? And going back into her videos, you start paying attention to like how she disciplined the kids. This included withholding food. Let me just read to you some of the stuff that bar_concentrate9131 from Reddit said. She would send her teen son off to a wilderness camp where people allegedly have died, all because he was expelled from a very prudish, cultish, and problematic school. She forced her youngest daughter to go to school without lunch, making her do it herself. And she laughingly said in the camera, now this one I saw myself, because I remember this from a little while ago, and I saw her doing this herself. She looked at the camera and laughed and said, quote, she's going to need to be hungry. Hopefully no one gives her food. She used food and sleeping in a bed as a privilege. She has a very creepy obsession with puberty and films her daughters buying bras, getting their periods, what? Shaving, what? And having the sex talk. Okay, that whole thing should have been shut down a long time ago. People should have stopped watching her a long time ago from that. That's disgusting. I'm pretty sure she didn't film them getting their periods, but she was probably talking about it. Oh my God. Anyways, she called anxiety a choice, and she made her young children clean the floorboards and stay home from school. What? She kept them home to clean the house? I don't have any problems with them cleaning the floorboards, unless you do add other stuff to it. But when you have them stay home from school to clean the floorboards, that's kind of a problem. I don't have a problem with them cleaning the floorboards because children need to learn to clean. I clean the floorboards. And it's not going to be like a 2-year-old cleaning the floorboards. You need to be older to be able to do this. So I don't know how old young children are. So then apparently her and her family had gotten COVID and they thought it was funny, and they said, quote, it looked like people were intentionally trying to spread it, or like the family was intentionally trying to spread it, and they were making fun of people with COVID. Now, this, like I said, this comes from bar_concentrate9131 in Reddit. Now, some other users commented also, apparently, quote, she laughed at her kids and didn't have any kind of empathy when they told her they have no friends because of YouTube. How is that funny to you? Some other concerning behaviors that I saw in which she was disciplining her children, what she called disciplining her children. She would threaten to behead a stuffed toy and then telling her children that they wouldn't be getting any presents that year because they didn't respond to the punishment. What? I don't even understand that. Apparently, a Change.org petition had been set up trying to make people aware that there was child abuse and neglect in the house. Ruby and her husband posted in defense of the discipline, saying the incidents had been taken out of context. But even though they came out with that in 2021, which is the following year when everything started coming out, the YouTube channel went down in popularity. However, I can't believe that people were still watching. Then in 2022, Lori and her husband separated and the account was deleted. But that didn't stop Lori because she began working on a new channel with a new business partner, Jody Hildebrandt. In this channel, she had videos for an online self-improvement program called Connection, Connextions. And this self-improvement program was ran by Lori and Jody. Now, Jody had been a licensed clinical mental health counselor since 2003. So I guess she figured with her license and Lori's popularity, here they have connections. They then partnered with an Instagram account called Moms of Truth and started offering parenting classes with that group. However, even though she came from, I guess, offering parenting tips on YouTube and then a self-help course and now a parenting classes on YouTube, Lori's oldest daughter, who was a college student by this time, and neighbors called the authorities to do welfare checks numerous times because they saw that Lori was leaving the other children home alone a lot.
Hey, lambs! AI Jane here, butting in for a second. For some reason Kai has been calling the mother, whose name is actually Ruby, Lori, this entire time. I don't know why. I don't know where she got the name Lori from, but it was only at this moment that she realized it and fixed it. So, moving forward, she will be referring to Lori with the correct name of Ruby. I apologize for the confusion and for Kai's error. Now, back to the episode already in progress.
On August 30th, 2023, Ruby and Jody were arrested in Irvine, Utah. And 2 days later, on September 1st, they were both charged with 6 counts of aggravated child abuse, which is a felony. On September 19th, Jody voluntarily surrendered her counseling license because of the felony child abuse allegations. Because she surrendered her license voluntarily and it wasn't a disciplinary action, her license wasn't revoked and she maintains a limited license, which it seems like it just limited her ability to practice, but it didn't completely shut it off until the child abuse case is finished to see, I guess, which way it goes. According to a statement from the Santa Clara Public Safety Department, Ruby's 12-year-old son had climbed through a window of Jody's house and asked for a neighbor to give him food and water. When a neighbor saw him, he looked like he hadn't eaten in days and, quote, had open wounds and duct tape around the extremities. So, of course, the neighbor called 911. And when they arrived at the house, they saw that Ruby's daughter, the 10-year-old, also looked like she hadn't eaten in a while. She looked malnourished. And they took both of the children to the hospital where the son was treated for severe malnourishment and, quote, deep lacerations from being tied up with rope. Of course, medical staff spoke to investigators, and investigators went out to search the house. And they found evidence, quote, consistent with the markings on the boy. So they ended up taking all of the children out of Ruby's care. According to police, which is according to the 12-year-old, cayenne pepper and honey had been used to dress his wounds. How are you a YouTuber again and you're giving parenting classes? Where is the good advice in parenting that you're giving? I'm just wondering. On August 30th, 2023, Ruby and Jody were arrested, and 2 days later, on September 1st, both were charged with 6 counts of aggravated child abuse. They were accused of, quote, causing or permitting serious injury to Ruby's 2 children. While they were in the hospitalized, doctors categorized them 3 different ways. A combination of physical injuries or torture, starvation or malnutrition that jeopardizes life, and severe emotional harm. That's how they got the 6 aggravated counts of child abuse. They gave 2 charges for each children. That's how they came to the 6 counts of aggravated child abuse. Each count carries a sentence of 1 to 15 years in prison and a fine of up to $10,000. Currently, they're being held without bail. On December 18th, Ruby pled guilty to 4 counts of aggravated child abuse, and she later pled not guilty to the other 2 counts. Now let's roll back just a little bit. Both of them were supposed to appear in virtual court on September 8th, but before the hearing started, more than 1,000 people tried to get into the Zoom call, which obviously overwhelmed the system and it crashed. And of course, people just being people, because you can't control everyone, they were there shouting, cursing, arguing, playing music, and weren't really there for the live stream, weren't really there for the right reasons, which is a mother who was going to jail or going on trial, let me put it that way, for abuse of her children. Y'all just came here just to play like this is funny. Like, you think I do these true crime shows, these true crime rants and everything that just because. No. Contrary to popular belief, which actually lately nobody has said that to me. Interesting. But anyway, contrary to popular belief, I guess earlier in my career, people thought that I was here just because, oh, true crime and it's so fun. No, shit isn't fun at all. And y'all went in there acting the ass. Probably the same ones who came up to tell me how fun I think this shit is, and I was doing this just for views and I don't even know what else, money, whatever else, is probably the same ones that were going in there and, you know, playing around when it's supposed to be a serious court hearing. Some of the things police found in Ruby's home were 2 pairs of handcuffs, saran wrap, tape, 3 ropes, absorbent dressing and bandages, a bowl with red liquid and a metal spoon inside. And they also took footage of Ruby in Jody's home, saying that was actually evidence. I wonder why. In Jody's bathroom, they also found used gauze, which they took that as evidence that Jody knew about what was happening with the children. It also came out that Ruby had forced her son to work outdoors for several weeks with, quote, inadequate protection. So he got sunburn over and over. So he was just getting continuous sunburn. And she would tell the children that they were possessed and they were evil. And she also convinced the 2 youngest ones that they needed to, quote, be punished. So when she pled guilty, like I said, she said, quote, with my deepest regret and sorrow for my family and my children, guilty. Ruby's lawyer, Lamar Windward, said in a statement that he believes it was Jody who manipulated Ruby, and Ruby is a devoted mother. Jody still hasn't pled anything so far as I can see. And she still faces allegations of misconduct, including she had a previous charge against her of leaking confidential information about a client, which then she ended up on an 18-month probation on her therapy license. This was before. She's also been accused of abuse by her niece. Quote, initially, Ms. Franke believed that Jody Hildebrandt was the insight to offer a path to continual improvement. Ms. Hildebrandt took advantage of this quest and twisted it into something heinous. She systematically isolated Ruby from her extended family, older children, and her husband, Kevin Franke. This prolonged isolation resulted in Ms. Franke being subjected to a distorted sense of morality. He also said that Jody brainwashed, I'm going to say, quote, brainwashed and forced Kevin into isolation when she became his family counselor. So Kevin isn't being charged or arrested for anything because he wasn't with Ruby at this time, and he didn't have ties to anything that was going on. Of course, YouTube has come out and said that after Ruby's arrest, her account has been banned and she's no longer allowed on the platform. And it says that her 2 channels have been deleted, but right before I recorded this, I went to one of her channels and it was still there. Ruby is expected to testify against Jody in her upcoming trial, which I don't see a date for that, but Ruby is due to be sentenced on February 20th, 2024, in which I will give you an update to that sentences. Now, this was a longer case. It could have been made longer because it was a lot said about Jody, which she seems like a piece of trash human. But being that this is a Kai Rants, I wasn't trying to go this long, so this is a longer Kai Rants. But have y'all heard of this? And what do you think based on some of the things that I said? So before Jody came into Ruby's life, everybody says Ruby was a really great mom. After Jody came into their lives, suddenly they're getting a divorce. Her and her husband, Kevin, are getting a divorce. Kevin's not around the family at all. It's just her, Ruby, with the kids. And for some reason, Jody's around her and the kids too. And then suddenly everything started going downhill. Do you think that she was brainwashed? Do you think that she brainwashed both of them in some form or fashion? So do you think this is all because of Jody? Or do you think this was happening a little bit before Jody came in? Because from what I'm hearing, when she had that other channel before Jody came into their lives, she was doing some questionable things also. You know, not letting her kids sleep in the bed, using the bed as a form of punishment. Like, if you don't eat your dinner, you don't get to sleep in the bed. You can sleep on a cold, hard floor. Or, you know, sending her son off to this camp or whatever, where, you know, it's been documented that people have died at this camp. So do you think she was doing some of this before, but Jody just offered an avenue for her to open up and be herself? And maybe Kevin wasn't allowing that to happen, which is why I was kind of pulled back, reined in. You know what I'm saying? So this is all alleged. This is my opinion. I don't want anybody to come at me. I'm not saying this happened. It's my opinion. I'm just wondering, going back through everything that I went through just now, going back through everything that I just read just now, I'm piecing it together. And the lawyer is trying to blame Jody, but little things were happening before Jody ever came into Ruby and Kevin's life. And it wasn't Kevin. Everything was pointing to Ruby. So what I'm thinking is that allegedly Ruby was probably doing this before. Kevin was putting a stop to it. But now that Kevin wasn't in the picture anymore, Ruby's free and clear to do what she wants. And to everybody else, it just looks like it just, you know, coincidentally happened when Jody came in the picture. What do y'all think? Do y'all think I'm just, you know, a conspiracy theorist here? Maybe I could be wrong. Or does it make sense to you? Let me know in the comments below. And the poll that I'm going to put out is, do you think Ruby was like this before, or do you think Jody is the cause? Now, I know some platforms don't allow for polls, so do this. If you think Ruby was like this before, put a red emoji, anything red. So if you think she was like this before, put a red emoji in the comments below. If you think Jody is the cause, put a yellow emoji in the comments below. Or you can go to one of my polls, you know where the polls are, and just answer the question. That's it for Kai Rants today. I do want to tell you, before I close up this Kai Rants, that there are a couple ways you can actually get the daily Kai Rants. I do have the Patreon, patreon.com/love and murder, where you can get Kai Rants there and so much more. I do offer a premium subscription on Spotify where you can get Kai Rants there. So if you're on Love and Murder, obviously you are, because you're listening to me right now on Spotify. If you look down in the description area, I think around the main page of Love and Murder, you should see Love and Murder Lamb Patreon feed. Or you could just search for that Love and Murder Lamb Patreon feed. And you can get premium content there. So that's Kai Rants and the bonuses. Or another way that you can get it is through my Spreaker page. So if you go down in the description in the show notes below, you can see my Spreaker page. So if you'd like to support us and keep the content flowing and get access to all of these exclusive episodes, you can join my supporters club either in Spreaker, on Spotify, or you can go straight to Patreon. Your support helps me out greatly. I am so grateful for all of it. And I want to thank you for being part of Love and Murder's journey. Please help me get to the 500 Lamb subs by the end of 2024. And you now have 3 ways to go ahead and do that. All of the links are in the show notes below. And I'll see you in the next rant. Bye.